Okay. Okay. In this session, we'll discuss about the item styles and the region styles. Items, regions, shared regions. Okay. So like OAF framework, right? When we consider the OAF framework, the only two UI elements are items and regions. Okay. And like whatever the data which you want to display, whatever the data which user want to enter, it is always through items as well as regions. So OAF framework had designed this particular framework such a way that for each item or a region, you'll have a Java bean associated with it. So in easier way to understand what is a Java bean is nothing but it's kind of a library, I can say. It's kind of a library for each component, okay, which provides the set method, a get method, and a set of properties method. I mean to say now here, if you observe, I'll just show you one of the sample which I have designed for the region styles. So here, if you observe, I have a lot number of region styles. Maybe, of course, there are many other, but I just designed few region styles. Now, each region style will work in its own fashion. Okay, so why do we use regions? Okay, the basic reason for the purpose of region is, first of all, what is a region? We have to understand. So a region is kind of a parent for items. A region is a parent of items, or nothing but a component which holds n number of items.
Placeholder. It is like place.
Yeah, it's a placeholder for the items. Okay. So region on its own generally does not have any capability to show your dynamic data. Nothing but it does not have any capability to show any like your Vivo related data. Okay. If you have header region or a table region, component layout region, they just placeholder. It's kind of they are like just it acts as a placeholder for the components. That's it. Now coming to items. So items are the main components. Items are the main components where we can display the data as well as enter the data. They are the main components where we can enter the data as well as display the data, right? So some of the components which we have like a text input, hyperlink, image, right? A switcher region, a switcher item or a switcher region, a flex region. There are many other components. Okay, so we'll discuss few of them, as well as we also discuss about the library of these particular components. Why do we require a Java Bean library? Because most of the times we always play around with the properties of the items using the Java API or maybe using the Vivo logic. Okay, we'll see one by one, like how do we deal that. So let me show you this first of all, like region styles. Okay, so here if you observe, the first region style which I have is like this is your particular page layout region. Under the page layout region, what I have is a table layout. So we know what is a table, but here there is something called table layout region. Okay, so it is similar to your particular table region, but it is not for the purpose of showing n number of rows. This is for the purpose of showing some set of components in a row and column kind of fashion. So in this particular stuff, it just shows a list of records. Now here what I've done is I have attached a Vivo behind this one, table layout, and let me show you that also. Now here if you observe the first region, let me collapse all this, collapse all. Now start with the table layout region. In the table layout region, what I have done, the first thing what you see is a header region. Under the header region, I mentioned a region style called table layout. Under this one, what I have done, I have different row layout regions. Under each row layout region, I have a cell format again. And in this, I have the components. And similarly here, if you observe, I have some other components under the row layout and the cell format regions. So why do we use this row layout and cell format is now, generally, whenever you design any items, if you don't have any layout mentioned, simply they'll just show one by one. Okay. But in this one here, if you observe in our example, I have a description which is left aligned. I have the set of components which are right aligned. I have these set of components like a user ID, username. These are all kind of right aligned. Okay. So here, if you observe the properties of this particular region layout and just observe the cell format, can you see horizontal? I mentioned right aligned. That is why all of them went to right side. Okay. Now maybe you can see the other one also, cell format here. Okay. Here I mentioned left aligned. Description, why it is showing left side? That is the reason. Cell format, I mentioned it as left aligned. Okay. Yeah. So whenever if you want to mention some sort of the components to the right, center, or left, you have to use a cell format region. Okay. Next region here, if you observe, it is very simple one. I want to show the same set of components in a bulleted fashion. Now here, if you observe for the bullet list region, just check for each region. I mentioned header region because the purpose of the header region is just to display something, a line and a text like this. That is only purpose of header region. It just shows a very good line, and you can have the region name. That is the purpose of the header region. Now, in this one, I have a region called bullet list. I have a region called bullet list. Whatever the items you mentioned there, it simply shows a bulleted one, a bullet icon, or a, what do you call? We generally call it bullet, right? Bullet list, bullet icon. Okay. Now, the other important thing is content container is very much interesting. Maybe if you see any of the standard pages, right, you generally have the content container. Maybe in the iReceivables or maybe the TCA, right? You have the bullet, this particular content container, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so now the content containers. So here in this one, here if you observe, what I have is I have a bullet list region as well as content container region. So the specialty of the content container region is it shows a blue color text like this by default. It shows this particular highlighted text content, color content, color information by default. We don't have any control on that. It just shows like that. So what I have done is here is, so I have a row layout and I have a bullet list region, which we know what it is. And then I have a content container. Okay. So in this content container layout, I just have a set of components. Okay. So in the content container list, again, I have the bulleted list. That is why whatever the information which you have in this one, it is showing in a bulleted fashion.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is the default double column. It is just what are the columns you have? It shows in a double column fashion. Next is a single column. It shows all the set of columns in a single column fashion. Okay. And in the stack layout, the difference between this and this here, if you observe, right, the formatting is a little bit different. Stack layout, it just simply shows whatever you have one by one. It doesn't bother about they're aligned properly. So the best thing is, like, if at all, if you have a single column layout is the best thing. It shows information in in a proper formatted manner. But stack layout, it shows in a totally left aligned manner.
That is right align, I think. The above one is right align. Looks like a right align.
Yeah, it is kind of, I mean, if it is totally, it is not totally right aligned, right? If it is totally right aligned, it would have been went here.
Your columns, headings, that user ID, username.
Yeah, okay. Those, yes, that is correct. That is correct. They are aligned properly, or yeah, they're right aligned. Yes. Okay. And other region, right? Hide and show, right? So here, if you observe, it just simply shows like this. Okay. Maybe the page would have been signed. I mean, it would have been active for a longer time, right? So let me run the page again. Okay. So here, if you observe the show, so there are two things. One is hide show region, other one is hide show header region. Okay. The difference is in the hide show, it does not show any extra line, but in the hide show header region, it shows header region kind of line. That's extra thing. Okay. The different reference page may have been placed long enough too. It's very strange. Let me rerun. Yeah, if it, not sure of the issue. Very strange. Okay. Okay, that one is previous session. You're trying to accept it, that is no longer active. Very strange. Okay. So yeah. Hide show is like by default, like it will show a hyperlink, and you can just click on those show and it will show the components under it. Now, the other very interesting layout and which we use most of the times is message component layout region. Okay, for all the regions so far which we discussed, right, they have a wizard option, most of them. But for the message component layout, you don't have wizard option. If at all, if you have a, if you at all, if you want to create message component layout, right, very simple. You just create like maybe a default single or default double column layout first, and then change the region style to message component layout. So that will, like it doesn't need to create the item, each individual item separately. And in the message component layout, right, the interesting part is like you can mention how many rows and columns you want to have it, and it will get formatted appropriately. Now let us say I have around maybe 10 columns, right? Like 5 plus 8, 9 columns are there. Now let us say I want to show them in a 3 by 3 fashion. So what I can do is you can just select stack flow message component layout region. I'll select this one, and I can mention number of rows are 3 as well as number of columns are 3. That's it. Okay. And hide show. See, this is very simple hide show. It has to work, but not sure of the issue. Yeah. Okay. Let me run.
Which one? Hide show.
This one, hide show. There is 2 types of regions. One is hide show, and the other one is hide show header region. Okay. In the hide show, it just simply shows. Now, see, the difference is in the hide show, it will not have any blue color line for the purpose of showing that. In the hide show header region, I'll say hide show header region line. It shows a separate line, right? For each, whenever you work with header region, it always shows your particular header text as well as a line, a separator kind of line. So look and feel, it looks very interesting. See here, this one. This is how the difference. For the show, for the hide show, you'll not have any kind of header region, header text. But for the hide show header region, you can mention that. And one more important thing is, for any of the region which you take, they will never have any region name. That is the reason we always take header region, and under the header region, we'll have the under other region. Here, if you observe, what are the things which I have considered, for every region, I have taken header region.
Yeah.
The only purpose is to show the blue color line and header text. Okay, now here if you observe, it is 3 by 3 fashion. 3 by 3 fashion. Okay. Now the final thing is like it is called shuttle region. I have not implemented fully, but this is how the region looks like. I want to show how the region looks like. This is the shuttle region. And now here if you observe, right, each of them, it is showing only one record, right? It is just showing only one record. But the underlying Vivo which I have, let me show you that. Now the Vivo which I am using for this one is FND user Vivo. FND user Vivo. Okay. There is no where clause, but why it is showing only one record? There is no where clause. It has to show a number of records which are there in my system, in my instance, but they're showing only one record. The basic reason is in OAF, the only region which can show n number of records is table region. The remaining all regions are not capable enough to show n number of records.
So first record it shows, which record it shows then?
Any record which comes, right? By default, when you execute a query, we don't know which record will come into picture, isn't it?
Default.
It can be of row ID, it can be of creation date. The engine decides, the SQL engine decides. Okay. Yeah. Now coming to the next one, what we do is, so as of now, like we know how to create a components from the UI, as well as how to change the properties from UI. Okay, but for few of the components, we'll try to change the properties using the controller logic, or using the Java API. Okay, let us see that. So I'll just create a page, new. Let me change this one. I'll just say web UI, and I'll say item styles PG. Okay, and I'll set the controller.
So you're creating the region using the Java code in the controller. controller class.
No, I'm not creating, but I just want to control the behavior. We can create it. We can also create it, but I just want to, initially I want to just show how do we control the behavior of them. Okay. Now let's say I just have header region. I just have one item, maybe a couple of items. So this one I'll change to submit button. Okay. I'll just say hide items button. So I just want to hide the buttons using the hide the items using the submit button.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one I'll name it as item 1, item 2. So I'll just mention the prompt. Okay. Now, so here if you observe for any of the region or item, you have some set of properties and they are not same. It will be differ. It will differ. But many of the properties will be same, like a read-only property, disable property, render property, most of the properties. Okay. For regions, you may have for regions, you don't see any disable property. For regions, you don't see any disable property. You just simply have a render property. Render property will be there for every particular component, either item or region, you'll have a render property. Okay. And here, if you observe for the page layout region, you don't even see any render property. So it all depends upon the component which you're working on. Now, just to start with, let us say using this particular button, I want to control the behavior of these particular items. Okay. So how do we do it, right? So now, how do we handle the button using the page context.get parameter? Will be handling the button, right? So now in the process form request, let me go there. In the process form request, I'll just say if page context.get parameter. Okay. Now using this one, we can understand, okay, button is pressed, but how do we set the property, right? That is a very important thing. So for every component, you'll have a Java API. That is what we discussed. But what is the API name? How do we remember? It is very easy. What is the item style we have? The item style is message text input. The item style is message text input. So as per the Java framework, OA framework standards, your particular Java API always stands with Java, OA. Any Java API of the OAF items will start with OA, followed by the component style message text input. In our case, just simply type OA message text input bin, or you can press Alt Enter. So this is a Java API for the message text input component. This is a class. So I'll just create an object item one bean is equal to web bean dot find index chain recursive. So here you just mention the item 1. The basic reason is this particular page context object. In the controller, we have two methods, and each method has two particular, what do you call it, parameters. Okay. And there is, this process form request, it is having two particular parameters, page context as well as web bean. Page context generally will have the page related information like a user information, responsibility, org information, parameter information. Web bean will have all the information of the UI components in your page, So web bean is a parent component, a parent bean component, Java bean component, which has all the information about the set of components which are there in the page, and they are the graphical components. Right now, here if you observe, whenever we create a page, whenever we create any page, it shows a list of components. So, but there should be a runtime engine which executes each and every component. Then only they will get displayed. Now, let me run the page before I write any code here. Let me explain some information now. Item style. Okay, now I have these components, right? So for each particular component which we created in the UI, there should be a runtime engine which executes that item. And for that item, a memory should be allocated. And for that particular, whenever the memory is allocated, you'll have an object instance for it. So now for this item, what I want to do is I want to control the behavior of this item dynamically using my controller logic. So I need to get the instance of it, nothing but I need to get the pointer runtime pointer location of this one. So how do I get it? Using the webbean.find child recursive API, I can just mention the object name and it will return me the instance of that. It will return me the instance of it. Now, what I do using this particular instance of this one, I can access the properties of this particular item. So what I want to do is I just want to say, I want to disable it. First of all, I want to disable it. And also what I want to, let us say I want to set the value of the item, set value, item value updated dynamically. So I want to update the value dynamically. And for the second component, so I have two items, right? For the second component, if what I do, I want to I also want to do some set of properties changes. So I'll create another variable called item2. And for this one, what I'll do, I'll just say item2 bean dot set render property to false. I just want to simply don't display the item. I don't want to display that second item based on the button behavior. Okay, let's see how it works. So there are two ways of implementing the properties. One is if at all, if you want to control the behavior using the Java API, we can do like this, or we can use a spell logic, which we have used earlier. You can just have a property vivo, and using the spell logic, you can apply that. You just set the variable values, and automatically, whichever the components for which the particular vivo, vivo attributes are applied, they will work accordingly.
Yeah.
Both we have to know. We have to know this concept as well as that concept. Based on the usage, we can use it appropriately. Now I'll just click on this particular button. Can you see the item 1 is getting displayed now? Item 2 is rendered to false, and it is disabled. I cannot change any value here. It is disabled. Okay. Similarly, I'll create few more and we can discuss. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just create one more region. I'll create one more region again. So in this region 3, I'll create new item and I will change to submit button, and I'll create one more submit button. Okay. So I'll say set value button, set value. Other one, I'll say toggle button. Okay. Now, okay. Link item. Now, so let me create one. Let me show one more. Yeah, I'll just create LOV. Okay, using our FND user Vivo, I'll try to create LOV, and let us see how do we set the value of LOV also. Sometimes we may have a requirement to set the LOV value also on the page load, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let us see that also. So in this region, I'll just create item, message, LOV input. I'll just say FND user LOV Vivo. Select user, region using a wizard or table using a wizard. User ID, username. I'll just get only two values. Finish. Username. Okay. And also Give search allowed as true. And here also search allowed to true. Okay. Now, first thing what I want to do is when the page gets loaded, I want to set the value of this particular LOV with the current logged in user. Okay. With the current logged in user. So the component name is FND user LOV. No, it shouldn't. It is not correct. FND user LOV ID better. Okay. You change the mapping accordingly. Okay. Now save it. Now what I want to do is I want to set the value of this LOV to the current logged in user when the page gets loaded. So now we know which method gets called when the page gets loaded, right? It is a process request method. But how do we set the value of LOV? Let us see that. And also we need to know who is the current logged in user. So how do we get that? Let's see that. Username str is equal to page context dot get username. Like when, as we know that whenever you set up the OA frame, the JDeveloper for the OA framework, we always mention who is the current, your current apps user, like what do you call the EBS user details, like front-end user details, and also responsible details, right? So now let us say we'll mention that page context dot get user name. You can get user ID as well as username. Both you can get it. Now I got the username. This I want to set to my LOV. So how do we do it? First of all, you get the LOV component. What is the item style of the message LOV component? So to get any property or to get the Java API details of any of the item component or region component, just observe the region style or item style. So in our case, the item style is message LOV input. So our API starts with OA followed by message LOV input. Press Alt Enter. And this is our object. It's a bean, web bean dot find index child recursive. Now get the bean instance. Once you get the bean instance, you can set the value. So you can simply set fnd user LOV bean dot set value of page context, comma, username str. That's it. Okay. And let us say if at all, if you want to disable it, also you can do it. Now, if at all, if I want to disable it, I don't want anyone to disturb this one. We'll say set disable to true. Okay. Now, item styles, run the page. So this way we can play around for any kind of item. Of course, some of the properties will be differ, but we have to always check out the Java documentation and we can play around with all the components. Now, can you see it is disabled and the username is operations. This LOV is disabled now and the value is operations. Now what I want to do is I want to enable this particular LOV using the toggle button. I want to enable this LOV using the toggle button. Whenever I click on toggle button, I want to enable this LOV. So let us see that. So what we do?
Get is going to give the current user. The get function is get the user.
Yeah, page context.get user will give you the current logged in user of the apps. I mean, not the current logged in user. I mean to say in the, what is the configuration of your page context, your particular project properties?
Oh, based on the project part.
Yeah, project properties only. Yes. Now toggle button, I just want to control the behavior of the LOV. Get the LOV instance. Okay. Boolean. LOV disable. See, now I have a property called is disabled. Okay. So if it is already disabled, Let us say if it is already disabled, I want to enable it. Okay. Else do the other way. If it is enabled, disable it. So I have a method called is disabled. Okay. Now fnd user hello bin set disable is equal to true. See, for every API, you'll have a setter method and getter method. Set is for the purpose of setting the value. Get is for the purpose of getting the value. Okay. Now fnd user lov bin dot set disable false. Okay. This is how we can get just play around with the component. And I have another button, right? So what was the other button? Yeah, set value button. So now instead of set value, I'll just say hide a region button. We understand how to be hide a region also. Okay, because as of now we are playing around only with the items, right? Let us see how can I hide the region 2 also. Let us see that. Hide region 2. So this is my region 2. I'll name it as region 2. So when you render the region as a false, what will happen? All the components under that particular region will not get displayed, isn't it? So now this particular region, right, the google.com one, if at all, if you render the false for that region, all the items under that will get false. Okay. Let us see that. Okay. Better I'll make this fnd user into another region. Okay. So that I will not get that disturbed. So I'll just drag and drop as a sibling. No, sorry, as a child. As a child. And also I don't want this region 5 to be under region 2. I want it as a separate one. What do you do? Select the region and just place like this. It will ask you whether you want a sibling or a child. I want it to have a sibling so that it will be away from the region 2. Now let us say if I want to move this to down, just select this one, just move down like this, and again it will ask you whether you want to have a sibling or a child. I want to have a sibling. That's it. Okay, this is how we can control the movement of your components. Whenever you move the components, always we have to be very careful because we may lose the content also. If at all, if you are trying to move some component to another component which does not support embedding of the other components. Now, so region 2, we want to play around with the hide region button. So now hide region button, I'll take it, hide region button. So this one, I want to control the region 2. What is the region ID? The region ID is region 2. Just copy the region name. And what is the item style? What is the region style? It is header. The region style is header. Okay. Okay. So whenever I click on hide region button, I want to play around with the region 2. So nothing but what is the region style was header. So the bean will start with OA followed by header. Let's see. Okay, can you see OA header bean? And it always ends with bean. It starts with OA followed by your region style, item style, and then ends with bean. That's a concept. I'll say region 2 bean web bean dot find index tail recursive. Mention the region name, region ID, and then region 2 bean dot set render to false. That's it. This is how we can control the region property also. If at all, if you want to, let us say if I want to rename my region during page load, let us say I want to rename my region to something. So what I'll do in the process request, region 2 bean dot set text or set value, just see whichever works. And set text, we have two things. Either of them should work. We can use this one or this one. Both should work. Or if the other does not work, we have to use the other alternative. Let us set text. This region will get hidden once a button is pressed. Okay, some text like this. Now run the page. Okay, now first of all we understand this is getting shown properly. That is good. Now play around with the toggle button now. It has to show the value. Okay, there is something wrong in the toggle button. Either the button ID is wrong or some property is wrong. Okay, that will check it. Next one is just check out the hide region. Okay, page itself is not okay. 1 minute. Okay, now it is working fine. I mean, it worked. Let's try the toggle button. Toggle button is not working. Hide region is working, but toggle button is not working. So toggle button, probably just check out the button ID. We always need to validate whenever your page does not work properly, right? Just validate the button ID first of all the IDs, not only button ID. Just search now. So the button ID seems fine. And then what could be the mistake? Let us say, okay, we are getting the LOV ID. So here, let us say disabled is false. You are making it as true. If it is true, you're making it as false, right?
Yeah.
Then I feel logic is correct only. LOV input, FND user LOV bean. If it is already disabled, make it as, see, if it is disabled true, again, you're making it as true, which is quite wrong, isn't it? This will come to if condition only when it is true, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are doing the same thing. That is why it's not working. If it is false, it will come to else. Make it as true now. So that's a mistake, a logical mistake. So yeah, this happens. So we always. Okay. Now try this toggle button. Okay, perfect. Right?
Can you click height region? Height region, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Total region
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Hide items.
Okay.
Yeah, it is still browsing. There is some issue, but definitely, I mean, due to a page or something, it is just getting stuck. Okay. Yeah, it worked. It got disabled, toggle. Okay. And the final thing I just want to discuss, like, will not take much time, but yeah. So there is something called shared region. There's
Yeah.
something called shared region. What is a shared region? See, now, if, like, assume that like you have n number of pages. In each page, you want to show a particular header region, which is same in all the pages. Like a shared component, you want to display in all the pages.
Okay.
So you want to maintain the standard, right? Whenever you want to show some component in all the pages, it has to be unique across all the pages. Okay, and if at all if any change occurs in that also, the other pages should not get disturbed. In those scenarios, what we do is for reusable purpose, we'll be using a concept called shared region. Okay, let us see how do we create a shared region. So in the web UI, I'll click on new and I'll click on region. Okay, so here if you see, I'm clicking on region, and here when you mention the region, it will ask you what is the style you want to have it. I prefer always header region initially, header, and I'll say user header region. I'll just simply say user header region. Okay, and click on OK. And we can have a controller for region, this shared region also. On the user header region, I'll just click on set new controller. User header CO. Okay, and in this one, let us say I want to have some set of components like 3 components, 1, 2, 3. Either way, we can either use the existing Vivo. Okay, let us say what I want to do is I want to use use, like I want to use this FND Vivo. So what I'll do is I'll just delete this one. I'll simply right click on this region using a wizard. I'll select this one and XX, not many, R12.2.9 FND user Vivo, and I'll just use a default. uh, as of now, I'll just use a single column because I don't have message component in my region style. So I'll select single column and then I'll select my items. Then I'll change the region style. Okay. Username, user ID, employee ID. Okay. And user GUID, 4 items I want it. And I'll name this, all of them should be message file text only. Okay. Finish. So I don't want this to be default double single column. I want this to be message component layout. So what I'll do, I'll simply change here message component layout. It will say whether it will give a warning. It's fine. It will work. Okay. Now display the number of rows and columns. I want to have a single row, 4 columns. Okay. Now, so we have assigned a Vivo to this one. So obviously it will not work until unless you execute the Vivo. So what we do, so from this particular user header CO, I need to execute my FND user Vivo. So we already have a initialization method. This we have to call from our region CO. So in the process request of this region CO, what I'll do, I'll say R12.2.9 AM is equal to page context dot get application module. Okay. AM dot this one. That's it. Okay. Now, first of all, run the CO, run this particular region. I'll just right click on the region and click on run. That's it. And see how it works. Okay. Now it is saying that, there is some issue. It says the run the page from a component that has the AM definition or AM instance property set. First of all, let us see whether did we set the AM. So on this region, we have not set the AM definition as of now. Set the AM definition first of all, which is this one. And then again rerun. Okay, still it is giving error. So the basic reason is whenever, if you want to run your shared region, by default it will not run it. So there is a property called standalone. On this region, just search for a property called standalone and set the property to true so that you can run your particular region from the JDeveloper also. Okay, this setting is required whenever if you want to run the region from your JDeveloper, else it is not mandatory. Search standalone to true. Now I'll just run the region now. Okay, now here if you observe the URL, it is OA.jsp (region is equal to. But earlier, whenever we invoke any pages, it was OA.jsp page is equal to. But for the region, it simply says OA.jsp (region is equal to. So that is one of the difference. And this is simple, the message component layout. But how do we use this particular region in other pages, right? So simply copy this information first of all. This information, okay, the package structure of the region. So I'll just copy this package structure of my region, and then let us say I want to use this particular shared region in the item styles page. In the item styles page, I want to use this region. So what I'll do is under the main region, I'll simply create a new region. Okay, new region. I'll make it as the top region, sibling, and I will name it as user shared region like this. Okay, after that, you have a property called extends. Click on this extends property. Okay. Now just mention the package structure of the region. Just mention only package structure. So I'll just remove the region name. Click on search, and automatically it shows a list of shared regions which are available in this particular package structure. And now click on OK. That's it. Once it gets extended successfully, let us see how it shows. Now here, if you observe, right, it shows something in a disabled manner. So you can't edit any of these items individually. If at all, if you want to change anything, you click on the shared region, find out this particular region where it belongs to, go to that region, then only you can change it. And it shows the control class aim definition of this particular shared region also. Okay. Now, if you run the item styles page, let us say, how does it look like? Let's see. And this shared region is used in many of the standard pages. In every standard page generally have the shared region concept.
Okay.
Okay. Now, by just seeing the page, you can't say that whether this region belongs to your page or not, first of all. Okay. There is no way we can tell that by just seeing. But we have an alternative. If at all, if you really want to know how does whether this region is a shared region or not, what you can do is just click on about this page. Here, actually, you should have a property called region personalization enabled. If at all, if that was enabled, we can easily distinguish. Okay. But as of now, let me try. When I click on about this page, it just simply shows our page structure, right? It just simply shows the page structure. And when you just expand all, it shows some information. And here it tells you like a header CO and region CO. But having a separate CO does not mean it's a shared region. Having a separate CO does not mean it is a shared region, right? By just seeing about this page, we cannot tell exactly whether it's a different page or not. Okay. But we have but what we can do is, once we have the FND personalization region link enabled to true, what it will do is it will have a personalized link enabled for each region. When you click on personalized region, it will clearly tell you what is a path of your region. By that, we can distinguish whether it is really a component of this particular page or not. That way we can distinguish, and we can have more clarity when we discuss about the personalization session. Okay. For now, this is the shared region concept. Okay.
This you entered the AM, right? You mentioned the AM code, right, in the controller. That where did you take that AM? Yeah.
No, it comes by default. So whatever the properties which you have for that shared region, that will come to your particular this one directly. We does not need to re-enter any of them. You can't even enter first of all.
Mention the AM class, AM into the controller.
See, first thing is, this is our shared region, correct?
Yes.
This is a shared region where we have our controller class as well as AM for this particular shared region. Okay. So in the item style region, in the item style page, I'm using this shared region. When I extend this one, right, whatever the properties which are available of this shared region will automatically enter in the control class aim definition appropriately. We does not or should not enter anything. It has to come by default. We should not even change it.
No, not here. Initially, when you created the first region, the shared region,
we have to enter them manually. We have to enter them manually, right?
Here you mentioned in the controller class some code you mentioned, right? AM dot.
Yes, AM dot, yes.
You mentioned this code we have to mention AM dot. Yeah,
this is for the purpose of executing the Vivo. This is for the purpose of executing the Vivo.
This should be okay.
Yeah, it's like initialization of Vivo, right? When I have a in our region, we are showing as user content which is based on a FND user Vivo. I need to execute that Vivo so that
whatever the parent one we need to call that.
Yes, it will get executed. The Vivo will get executed and we can see the content. Okay. Yeah, so play around with the shared region. This is very important concept. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Thanks. Tomorrow,